Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you all had a pleasant evening. We are back on the record in the matter of People versus Purse House. All jurors are present, including the alternates, all counsel present, defendant as well. We're going to continue with Officer Fizek, whose testimony we interrupted. You can take the stand if you would, Officer. Reminder, you're still under oath.
Yes, sir.
But before I do that, let me read a stipulation to you. You can have a seat. And I explained last time what a stipulation is. Do you all remember that? The stipulation is an agreement between counsel or among counsel regarding a fact or set of facts as having been proven by the evidence, and you're to accept them as such, all right? The stipulation reads as follows. Evidence of Amy Harwick's state of mind regarding her fear of the defendant, Gareth Pursehouse, is being admitted via Amy Harwick's email to herself and statements to friends for a limited purpose, to show that she would not have consented to him entering her home and would not have consented to him lying in wait. You may consider that evidence only for that purpose and not for any other purpose, all right? There it is. Now, the prosecution advises this court that they believe they can rest next Monday with presenting their case. The defense will call witnesses. Again, they have no burden, but they will call witnesses and so forth. And so I've just given you an update of where we stand at this point, okay? Now, you may continue. I believe you have transcripts. We left off at page 17.
New transcripts.
Yes. Page 17.
And I believe on the video, which was People's Exhibit number...
Exhibit number 1. 28.
I'm going to start it at 20 minutes and 11 seconds, so if we could play the video at this point.
Yes, you may, whenever you're ready.
Thank you.
If there's anything additional that we could try to...
I'm telling you, the biggest thing that came to mind for me is she recently saw an accident. She had a restraining order, I guess, and she was worried about it.
When was that?
A couple of weeks ago. It was at an ex's sex therapist.
She's a sex therapist, okay. Okay. Where's your ID, sir?
It's in my wallet. It's in this room somewhere.
I don't know, dude. Something's off. Dude, that rig is loaded completely. It hasn't been used. So she's an unused rig with... I don't see ransack. I don't know. Does anything look like heroin? It looks almost like saline. Yeah, or maybe some sort of meth. Yeah, I saw you looking at that. I don't understand that he told you guys what's going on. I think because he jumped the fence. That's what he's saying. This is weird, dude. I don't know what to think, honestly. I've never seen anything like this. Look at this. They were all upstairs too. All of them were upstairs. So this is all like some weird sex stuff. Right? Oh, yeah. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Well, look what this is. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. This is crazy. He's gonna blow. Yeah, we can't let him go. I just don't have I'm gonna get him in here because I need to find his ID because I need to verify him. Hey, sir, can you come in here, please? Can you find me your ID, please? Hey. How much of this is Yeah, I got it. Sorry. I got it. Yeah, that'd be great, actually. No, we cleared the house. Yeah, we cleared the house.
Rescue 82 on 10.
All right. Sir, is detective coming over? He's coming over. What do you think? Yeah, super weird. And the thing that tripped me out, so when we got here, he has blood. Yeah, that was the first thing I saw. And then we were trying to climb the fence. He said, "Oh, that's not my land." I'm like, "Well, we jumped over the other side. We didn't get bloody."
What I don't like about the stories is that he didn't touch her. I understand he could have stand allegedly, but he could have come through the back door, right? He could have opened everything for you guys to do.
Well, that's what he said. He said he came out this way because he heard wrestling or like he didn't see her. He came out running this way. But sir, I jump over. I'm the first one to jump over. He had already jumped over pretty easily, right? Because me and him were struggling because our gear kept getting caught on him. And so I was helping him get over. And he said, "All right, come on." He comes over and he looks at me, "Oh my God." Like almost like, you know what I mean? Almost like
Yeah, the third story.
yeah. 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 He leaves. Yeah, but she hadn't seen him for two weeks. See the rate right there is completely loaded and it hasn't been.
So I paused it at 27 minutes and 36 seconds. There appears to be a light there in the backyard at the very top of the building. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And was that light always on while you're back there in the backyard?
Yes, sir.
And did you turn it on, or was it on by itself?
We did not turn it on.
So you don't know if it's a motion-activated light or otherwise.
Correct.
Okay. But at least while you're in the backyard, or people are in the backyard, that light was on.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Where are the other officers still?
They're door knocking a couple others to see if they heard or seen anything. No, I just got his ID.
Once everyone's get through someone, you should buy it for the distance.
Yeah, I'll get one of them to go.
Hey.
Yeah.
Okay, so then, we'll get you guys a little bit of speed.
Yeah, we'll go. The FD has her ID.
Okay, so we'll go basically, let me get one of you guys' numbers.
Yeah. I don't know, it seems, there's no way to tell. But it just...
Seems like I can't make. I would be the one jumping with you. Seems like it matters.
No, we were both. What's up?
Well, no, I think we find out.
Just sit on her. Yeah, sit on her. Yeah.
Yeah. If she says anything in the hospital, I need to know that. Usually I say, like, what happened?
Yeah, hey,
I think they should play ball. She's bad and good name after that. Wait, she's not.
I mean, if she comes to me, yeah, ask her about anything. It's just weird because she's just weird because that ring is completely loaded and it hasn't been used.
Now I stopped it at 30 minutes and 2 seconds. Someone states she's not answering anything. Who made that statement?
Officer Edney, my partner.
Okay. And at any point, did the victim ever answer any of your questions?
No, she did not.
Did you ever hear her answer any officer's questions?
No, sir.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, we can look up any more.
We're going to go upstairs now. I'll have that. Anything about you? We should go here. You never saying that?
He said he was going to door knock some of these.
Okay.
Yeah.
We need another unit to put it out there.
He said we're going to go upstairs and check it out a little bit. This is urine. I can tell you. It's sticky. Beads. This is urine.
Urine? But none of that.
All right, I stopped it at 31 minutes and 08 seconds. Now, who's saying this is urine?
I was.
Okay, can you describe to the jury what you observed at that point?
I observed a dried up puddle of yellow-like substance resembling urine.
Okay, did it appear to be recently placed there?
Objection, speculation, foundation.
Okay. Well, can you describe more the viscosity or what it appeared to you to look like?
The puddle appeared to be recently dried. It had a strong odor, not consistent with urine that had been sitting for a while. It appeared to be fresh.
Objection, foundation, speculation.
Well, I'll allow that it appeared to be fresh to stand.
Could you smell it?
Yes, I could.
Was it a strong odor?
Very strong, yes.
Why would you say it was very strong?
Just because it was appeared to me to be fresh, and the odor of urine is a pungent smell that I'm sensitive to.
Okay. And the location of this urine, where exactly was it?
It was in the hallway just outside of the bathroom, or at the door of the bathroom.
And that's the hallway between the room on the right, which appears to be like a TV room, and the bedroom.
Correct.
Go ahead.
Hey, look at that. The shower. What? Yeah. Pretty sure.
Okay, so we have urine, we have necklaces.
And look at this, dude.
We have necklaces.
Careful.
Yeah.
Look at this. What you got with you? I think it was the gurney. That's her phone. Oh, hold on. Just leave it for a second.
I flipped it over.
Pause it right here. Now, pause it at 32 minutes and 12 seconds. Who said I flipped it over in reference to the phone?
My partner, Luke Edney.
And was that phone on the bed when you first observed it?
Yes.
And there appears to be like a handbag. Was that to the side of the bed?
It was.
Minutes is when she got messages from Nest. Nest isn't Nest the doorbell thing? Yeah, it's heroin. It just looked weird at first.
That's fully loaded. And another one with black beads.
These beads are from
That was inside. You should have some of the beads.
taking what? Some of the heroin?
And I paused it at 33 minutes and 13 seconds. Who mentions that there's some beads out here, outside in the balcony?
My partner.
Okay. And did you see beads out there?
I did.
Did you see beads out there before you walked to that location?
Yes.
More heroin? Something else? Yeah, but we would have it. We would see it, right? Look at all these black beads all over the place. There's some there. Here.
From that necklace in
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
I'll see that at 33 minutes and 40 seconds. When you're saying, look at these beads from that necklace right there, what are you talking about?
I was referring to a necklace that we had observed inside the house. I believe it was in the TV room, if my memory serves me correctly. That was broken.
And these beads look similar to the beads from that that were in the TV room.
Correct.
Right.
I already looked inside there. It's got cards. Let me see. I didn't look in that one. FD was asking for me. How long ago do you think we got here? 20 minutes ago? Wow. The messages on the Nest thing show about. Probably.
If you call that this
Yeah. Yeah, it just felt weird, you know?
So like I said, I won't question it, dude. If you want it, you can cash it.
Yeah. It's also kind of weird. All these are open. Yeah. I didn't really look, to be honest, dude. I just got it real quick. Hey, come here. So, look, this is open.
And that's another one of those wigs that are
That's a
outside.
weird hairy wig. Wait a minute. Ready? That's not. That guy's sketchy, dude. I'm telling you right now. Hey. You see me? Bro, you gotta check this. You see? Here, we're gonna do it like this. Stay there. Stay there. You'll be able to get higher. Okay. Yeah. All right. Are you ready faster? All right, here. All right. Just give me some of this stuff. Here. All right, go. You look on the other side? Yeah. This side? Yeah. Okay. Here, come here. There's one over there. Okay. I'll stop it right there. Sorry, I just... Yeah. This thing is what the heck? Are you kidding me? Did we clear all this? Yeah, we did. It's weird, man. Dude, this is a joke. How did this thing just break right now? Let's go start this. Well, I already told him. I mean, he doesn't know. Night detective's on the way. Are you kidding me with this stupid thing? Hey, let's check his room. See that. Are those like anal beads or? No, they're rosaries. Yeah. Oh, now it works. Ha! Down but not out. Jesus. He's like a sex addict. Well, yeah, because she's a sex therapist. Yeah, more handcuffs. Well, that right there is getting used for sure. Yeah, we can come in. You go to your room. What do you upstairs, right? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I got you. Roger, sir. Is this heroin rig upstairs? Yeah.
thing is, I mean, when we got here, we searched the entire house. You know what I mean? So, I mean, unless there's some other hidden compartment in this house.
He probably fled.
But weren't you outside?
No, I ran and left to go get a neighbor because I didn't have a phone. So I was trying to beat on the door and somebody called you guys. Call the cops.
Right.
That's what I was doing.
So you were in here when you heard it?
Yes.
Sleeping?
Yes.
And you ran out?
I just, the first I thought she heard the mouse. So I was like, oh, she must see the mouse or something. I wasn't, you know what I mean? Like, just, it's the first thing I know why everything went on. But then it kept on. I had a neighbor. I'm like, and I
what do you mean it kept on?
It kept on. So shit.
What do you mean when you say it kept on? Like, what do you mean?
The struggle. It sounded like a struggle.
Okay.
And then I'm like, fuck, what was I? The first thing came on is both of us are going to be dead. Nobody's going to
Sure. And you didn't hear anybody else's voice?
I stopped it at 41 minutes and 53 seconds. So at this point, you're asking Mr. Michael Herman some questions.
Yes.
And he makes it clear that what he heard was a struggle. It sounded like a struggle.
Correct.
Anything like that? So,
Third floor up there. I would be able to take a look. Balcony with a flame of grid. And she was just on the balcony at Reck. Like unconscious, but breathing. He was the only one. He said he heard a struggle. He heard a struggle. Then he ran out here. Yeah, send you some. I don't know if she's going to get it. There should be some right there. Yeah. He's just. We'll go, if you want to go check it out upstairs.
You guys looking around?
Yeah. We searched them. You didn't go? Or you didn't go with him?
Which hospital do you go to?
I don't know. Cedar Sinai. Jesus Christ, dude. Thanks, sweetie. Yeah. Sweet, he's on his way up.
Oh, yeah, your partner told us to tell you to leave your fears.
Hey, that's the second time that's happened to you, huh?
No, this is the first.
Oh, okay, never mind. Oh, okay, it was cool. Oh, okay. Yeah.
So nobody has to do with the
Okay. Nobody heard anything? Oh, okay. Okay. All right, man. Thank you.
You guys are thinking she just happened to fall over the balcony on there. We don't guarantee that's not what happened.
Yeah. Well, and that's what we're trying to figure it out. I mean, it's hard to decipher. You know what I'm saying? Because nobody really saw anything. We're going based off what you said that there was a struggle, but again, we get here, there's nobody there. That doesn't really look like there's a sign of struggle up there. Like I told you, there's a rig of heroin up there. Yeah.
They're still screaming the whole time. I'm telling you, it sounded like a struggle. Like,
Okay.
I just didn't know how many. I just didn't want both these things.
No, I understand. Yeah. So when you ran out there, she wasn't up.
She was not out there. She was not out there. I ran out. She was still upstairs yelling when I ran out.
Right. Hey, can I see your hand? Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah.
What about this one here? Can I see your other board?
Sure.
Can you pull your sleeve back on this one right here? Oh no, on this one right here. This one. Can you flip it for me? So do me a favor, look up. Can you pull your shirt down a little bit?
Sure.
Alright, thanks.
Can you take your shirt off, actually?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we saw that.
This one, that's too.
And do you have any?
This slide's tall.
Do you have any? Are you beefing with anybody right now, or?
46. Just not right.
Yeah. How old is she?
She's 38.
38. And you know her for a year, you said? Yeah. Have you guys ever had any sort of like relationship? Nothing like that. Gotcha. Just pretty much friends. If you even had as roommates. Yeah.
I lived with her best friend is Dlive. They were best friends. I lived with him for over a year. He said I was the best roommate he ever had.
Right.
Married. And she's like, well, I'm a single girl, blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
She had a good place, herself.
Was it? Yeah, I got it right. I haven't yet.
I do probably because I develop sex toys. She's a sex therapist. I develop sex toys and stuff. So I've got handcuffs there. Working on a combination.
Pause it out. 48 minutes and 50 seconds. Now, where it says here, I believe your partner's saying he's calling a night detective. What does that mean?
At that point, we determined that it needed to be a crime scene. So, in an effort to assist with the crime scene, we contacted the night watch detective that's at the station to assist with that.
Okay, and would they take over the investigation once they arrive?
Correct, yes.
Go ahead.
So he freaked out because he heard struggling, he heard her screaming. He thought that whoever was here, he thought somebody else was here. And he didn't want to die, so he runs out. He runs out, goes around this way, jumps that fence. It's like, it's got like the spikes in it, and that's how he got that. That's what he said. Yeah, but he's got, I looked underneath, he's got like stabbing or something.
She has no wings on her.
I looked for like defensive. Yeah, she doesn't have that either. Other than that,
Nothing like that.
But he doesn't have any like defensive.
yeah.
So, I don't know. Jump or so picture down. She freaked out.
They said he's completely sober. They're both. He's smoking.
But she was a loaded very.
Really shitty. And then did you see that? I dropped down and it's weird.
Watch out for this dude.
And then yeah, I've already stepped on it 3 times by accident. There's like 3 or 4 more of those upstairs in her closet. We had to hop the fence too. Jesus Christ. Alright. You guys talk? I'm going off.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Yes, may I have a moment to just fix
Sure.
let me just use my I think I have to put it into that side.
Good morning, Officer Fisek.
Morning.
Remind me, how many years have you been with the department?
Currently 5.5.
And you were trained how to write police reports, right?
Yes, sir.
And you were trained on the importance of writing police reports.
Yes, sir.
It's incredibly crucial to include all of the significant facts in your as part of your police report, right?
Yes, sir.
It's incredibly crucial to include all of the significant facts that witnesses told you in your police report.
Objection. Argumentative to incredibly crucial.
Yes, sir.
Especially for officers who are the first officers on the scene, it's very important to document your first impressions.
Correct.
The very beginning of an investigation is an incredibly important part of an investigation.
Yes.
Now, on a serious case like this, your report can be relevant to the detectives in their investigation.
Objection. Argumentative and asking to speculate.
Well, it is. It's a question. Is that correct?
Is that correct?
What you're asking?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And your report can be relevant to whether prosecutors file a case.
Objection. Calling for speculation.
Do you know, officer?
Yes.
Did you know?
I do.
Okay. And would it be relevant?
Yes, it would be.
Okay.
And sometimes it can be relevant in how it affects jurors, and how it would affect jurors' thoughts about a case.
Objection. Calling for speculation.
Sustained.
All right. You wrote a report in this case.
Yes.
And you wrote it at a time when the events were fresh in your mind.
Correct.
And, in line with your training, you included all of the important facts from your response to the call.
Yes.
You included all of the important observations you made in the house.
Yes.
You included all relevant important observations you made in the exterior of the house.
Yes.
And you included all of the important statements told to you by witnesses.
Yes.
Your report was complete, true, and accurate.
Yes.
Now, on your way over to 2086 Mound Street, you actually got lost, right?
For a brief time, yes.
Okay. I have the beginning of your approach. I'd like to mark it as the defense is next in order.
Or double O. What is it?
It's just the first few minutes of the approach that were clipped from the body worn video.
So it's a DVD?
It's a DVD, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a transcript here of just that excerpt. I'm not playing the entire video of his body worn.
Okay.
I'd like to mark the transcript 001.
Yes.
distribute?
Yes, you
I have one for each of you.
Judge, you have a question in the audience?
The audience?
I'm sorry.
Oh, I got it.
Okay, you got it? Okay, very good. All right.
Now, officer, the audio on your body worn doesn't turn on until about a minute in, right?
2 minutes.
So I'm hitting. I jumped forward a minute because this is when the audio turns on. So I'm hitting play at a minute 04. And this should also correspond with the beginning of the transcript. I'm going to approach and provide a transcript to the officer, if I may.
Yes.
Thank you.
Can't say I've ever been on Mountain Street before.
Whatever I think it is. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong.
Yeah, you might be wrong.
I'm hitting pause at a minute 35. So the perspective of the body-worn video that we see is from you, right?
Correct.
And so you're the passenger and Officer Edmund is the driver.
Yes.
I don't know.
I'm really concerned.
You could write screen. Did you see they fist bump?
Good.
Yeah, like Dwight when he sees the clear red.
Yeah, get it.
Go get him, guys.
It's like every time someone tells me to do an interview, I'm like, hey, interview.
Stand watch.
And they're like, hey,
Clear red.
I'm like, hey, I'm going to interview. I always think of Dwight from The Office. When they find the marijuana.
Wait, say that again?
I always think of Dwight from marijuana when they say, like, do an interview or something.
Oh yeah, there was illegal drugs found on this
The
property.
interview's free. What is this? Like, it's Canadian Coke. No, it's marijuana.
He's all like disappointed.
And then he interviews Jim.
Yeah. Marijuana is a memory lost drug. Let me know when we're turning 16, right? So I know
Where are we to bound? It's a famous street. No, I just had that map right in front of me when you called
Hitting pause at 3:16. So we heard kind of bit of a conversation. Officer Edney was confident that he knew how to get there, right?
Correct.
You didn't know where Mound Street was.
Correct.
And Officer Edney believed that he could get there without using a map.
Yes.
It's like, I saw that it was like off of another street, right? It's like up and then over. Yeah, I think so. What is it? 2086?
Yeah. I might have lost it. Tell me to find this.
Oh, we're close. Hold on. Oh, just say so for a second. You gotta go back down Ivar, make a left. You gotta go. Yeah. This is Primrose? Yeah. Yeah, down on Ivar.
Yeah, I should take a Primrose.
Probably would have activated me. And then you're gonna make a right on Longview, I think. Yeah, right. Should be coming up. This is it. And then Mound is gonna be on the first right. Yep. I think it's okay here. Hey, sir. How can I help you?
Woman was attacked. I know it. I heard it. She's screaming. She's thrown to the ground. I couldn't find my phone. I couldn't find anything.
Okay, hold on. Okay, so you have access to here?
No.
Is there anybody else inside the house?
My roommate.
Just your roommate by yourself?
Yes. Dude, I heard screaming. I don't know if that guy had a gun or a knife. I came running trying to. I couldn't find my phone.
So is there somebody else inside?
Yes. I think there's.
Okay, sir. Do me a favor.
All right, hitting pause at 6:26. So that was your approach to 2086 Mount Street, right?
Yes.
Now, I'd like to turn to People's 28 and just highlight a couple moments. And if I may, open it from a digital file that I saved onto my computer. And I'm going to be staying here at the council table because I'm going to be going to certain parts of the video, okay? So, So I'd like to go to when you first come around the corner into the patio. So I'm going to timestamp 6:10, and just for the clarity of the record, this is the actual time of the video, not what the body-worn time says in the upper right-hand corner. So this is the minute and second that is on the recording. So you come around, and you already addressed this on direct examination, but the actual time of the night is up in the upper right-hand corner. Now, it's not actually 9:30, it's 1:30.
Correct.
Okay, 1:30 in the morning. So I'm hitting play at 6:10. And I'm hitting pause at 6:18. So this is the first time that you and Officer Edney see this person who's on the patio, right?
Yes.
And the first thing that happens is Officer Edney walks up to her and gently touches her back to see if she responds.
Correct.
On direct, you testified that you were concerned that she might have some sort of neck or spinal injury, right?
Yes.
So you didn't want to move her.
Correct.
You didn't want to potentially make the situation worse.
Yes.
You wanted to leave any sort of medical intervention to the people who had adequate training, like the paramedics.
Yes.
So when Officer Edney touches her back, he doesn't like roll her over.
I'm not sure. I didn't touch her.
I'm gonna hit play here at 6:18.
Sir, come here. Relax. Take a seat. Take a seat.
Okay, so hitting pause at 6:26. So do you recall that moment when Officer Edney kind of goes up and gently pushes her back? You were there in the patio with him, right?
I was there, yes.
Okay, do you recall him kind of bending over and just gently seeing if she was responsive?
I don't recall him ever touching her. I do recall him speaking to her, though.
Okay. Would it refresh your recollection to watch a section of Officer Edney's body worn?
Possibly, yes.
May I approach?
Yes.
May I approach you on?
Yes, of course.
Can you see well now?
I do, yeah.
Did that refresh your recollection?
Yes.
So Officer Edney walks over and gently touches her with his left hand, right?
Yes.
And as you were saying, you know, there's concern that moving somebody too much might injure them.
Correct.
And so he didn't move her very much, or at all. He just kind of gently nudges her on her back, right?
Correct.
And his left hand is ungloved.
Correct.
So just so it's very clear, he doesn't roll her over.
Right, he's already stated all of that, Counsel.
Now, I have what I'd like to mark as defense PP 1 through 12, and these are body-worn snaps, like snapshots of body-worn video.
All right.
May I approach?
Yes. Are you going to publish them first, or are you not?
I'm going to lay foundation first.
Okay.
And then publish. Can you please look at these 12?
May I approach on?
Yes, of course.
Once you get here, you can look at them just so that you can see them.
What?
Oh, you approach?
Yes, I haven't seen these.
These are just clips. These are just video snapshots.
You're asking if he recognizes them?
Exactly. Can you please review these and look up when you've reviewed them, please? Now, you saw Miss Hardwick in the patio when you came around the corner that night.
Did he answer? You recognized him? If he did, I didn't answer. I didn't hear it.
I have an estimate.
Okay, go ahead.
You saw Miss Hardwick when you came around the corner to the patio that night, right?
Yes.
And are these Defense PP 1 through 12? Are these accurate depictions of the way she appeared when you first saw her?
Yes.
So I'd like to publish Defense PP 11. So her right arm is beneath her torso. Is that correct?
Yes.
And her left arm is like in an L shape with her hand going above her head.
Correct.
Her, she's face down, right?
Yes.
And her head is turned so that her chin is approximately 6 to 10 inches away from her right shoulder.
Yes.
Publishing Defense PP 8. This is a different angle, so it appears that she has a necklace, right?
Yes.
And there's blood that is beneath her head, right?
Yes.
And the timestamp on this screenshot is 1:33 and 43 seconds, right?
Yes.
And you first came around the corner into the patio at 1:30, approximately 3 minutes before that.
Yes.
Publishing Defense PP 6. Now, this is, first of all, the light and the reflection is awful. There. Oh, there we go. It's a little better. So this is a very dark photograph, and it's kind of hard to make out exactly what's going on. But this is another angle of Miss Hardwick on the patio, right?
Yes.
And again, this is how she appeared to you when you first encountered her.
Yes.
Publishing Defense PP 5. Let's see if I can get the glare to not be so bad. Now, this is Officer Edney's ungloved right hand holding something, right?
Yes.
Publishing Defense PP 4. This is just a different angle of her in the patio as you encountered it, correct?
Yes.
And this is from right, under a minute after you round the bend. This is at 1:30 and 52 seconds, right?
Yes.
Publishing Defense PP3. This is from 1:30 and 38 seconds, and this is how she appeared as you approached her right after coming around the corner of the house, right?
Yes.
And that's Michael Furman in front of you, right?
Yes, it is.
Publishing Defense PP1. This is just a screenshot from 8 seconds earlier, another angle of how she appeared to you as you were first approached.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Did we get a response?
Yes,
Okay.
the response was yes.
Thank you.
So all of the screenshots I showed you, actually you've already asked or answered that question. So once you see Ms. Harwick on the patio and talk to Mr. Herman, you decided you needed to clear the house.
Yes.
And the goal of clearing the house is to make sure that there's no one inside.
Correct.
Your top priority at that time, within minutes of arriving, is to make sure that it's safe there.
Yes.
You want to make sure there's no threat to responding officers.
Correct.
You want to make sure that there's no threat to the paramedics who were about to be on their way.
Yes.
Redundant.
Redundant?
Well, I mean, repetitive and asked and answered.
Well, I think he's naming different personnel and different reasons, so I'll go ahead and allow it, give him some leeway a little bit. Go ahead.
So just the point is that when you're going to go clear the house, the goal for you is safety.
Yes, it is.
However, from the very beginning, you felt like there was something off with the situation, right?
Yes.
You saw the blood on Mr. Herman's shirt.
Yes.
And you felt that there was something potentially going on, right?
Yes.
So let's talk about clearing the house. And I'm not going to go through the whole video again. I'm just going to highlight a couple moments. So first, Officer Edney goes into Mr. Herman's room, right?
Yes.
He finds his keys.
Yes.
Officer Edney then goes around the side of the house to open the gate for the other officers who were going to come.
I believe so, yes.
So the first place you clear is that ground floor that had Mr. Herman's bedroom.
Yes.
You had a flashlight in your hand.
Yes.
You first clear that ground floor and then you go back out to the patio, right?
Yes.
Then you do a call out into the house to see if anyone's there.
Yes.
And a call out is when you say, LAPD, come out with your hands up, and if there is somebody inside, give them a chance to surrender.
Correct.
So I'm now going to People's Exhibit, I believe it's 28. I'm going back to People's Exhibit 28. Okay, I'm at timestamp 8:50.
Hey, somebody.
Hitting pause at 8:53. So at about 1:33 in the morning, the other officers arrive, right?
Yes.
And you were standing outside of Mr. Herman's room, and you heard voices, but you couldn't sure if it was just the TV that was on or not, right?
Correct.
You make a plan with the other responding officers.
Yes.
The other officers who were assisting you clearing the house were Officer Sweeney.
Correct.
Podkowski.
Podkowski, yes.
Oh, sorry. Podkowski. Edney.
Yes.
Cornejo.
No, I'm not familiar with that name.
So, in total, there were 4 officers who took part initially in clearing the house.
Yes.
Going to timestamp 9:44 and hitting play.
These 2 rooms are clear already. I hear voices, but I can't tell.
So you first enter the house around hitting pause at 9:51. You first enter the house around at 1:34 a.m. Sorry, you first go upstairs at 1:34 a.m. Right?
Yes.
And that's about 4 minutes after arriving at the patio.
Correct.
Now, the first thing you do is you clear the kitchen, right?
Well, we clear the downstairs first.
I'd like to go to timestamp 10:06.
You cover this.
And I'm hitting pause at 10:07. So your left hand there at this point in time does not have a glove on it, correct?
Correct.
Hitting play at 10:07.
You cover straight ahead. Got it? I'm going. Hey, be advised, there's a lot of dummies. All right, let's clear this. Hey, Cordero, come with us, dude. You guys hold that, okay? Or Podkowski, you hold that. Sweeney, come.
Hitting pause at 10:30. You mentioned another officer, Cordero.
Cordero, that's Officer Sweeney's first name.
That's Officer Sweeney's first name.
Yes.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and take a 15-minute break, if you would, please. Back on the record in this matter, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to stop at 3 o'clock today. I'm struggling up here to keep from coughing, but I'll be here tomorrow and so forth. But in spite of the interruptions that have occurred in this case due to illnesses and so forth, we're still on track. As I stated, that the forecast is that the prosecution intends to rest sometime around Monday. Okay, and we'll move forward from there. You may continue your examination, Counselor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yes.
Okay, so your body worn is paused at 10:07, and your left hand is in the screen there. At this time, it does not have a glove, right?
Correct.
All right, I'd like to jump forward to 10:45 and hit play.
It loops around. It's going to go down to the staircase. It goes out back outside. Back down to that.
Hitting pause at 10:57. So that's you pushing the door open with your left hand to the kitchen, right?
Correct.
I'd like to jump forward to 12:26. Actually, 12:22. So this is you and the other officers about to clear the 3rd floor, right?
Yes.
And is that which officer is that who's in the lead there with his left foot on the step.
It's Officer Podkowski.
Alright, so that's Officer Podkowski, and you can see that he doesn't have gloves on, right?
Correct.
If you go right, I'll go left, and then they'll take that back.
Alright, you guys going straight, okay?
Yeah. Come on, you swing. Gotcha.
Hitting pause at 12:34, and the officer that was immediately in front of you as you enter the bathroom, which officer was that?
Officer Sweeney.
And this is you pushing the door open, right?
Yes.
Hitting pause at 12:38. So this is pushing the door open with your left hand and pulling the shower curtain with your left hand back, right?
Yes.
I'd like to go to 13:15. Now, this is inside of the closet that's off of Miss Harwick's bedroom, right?
Yes.
Hitting play.
This place is fucking weird.
That's a good place.
Alright, hitting pause there at 13:21. So that was one of the officers touching the drawer in her closet with an ungloved hand.
Believe so, yes.
Now, you go out to the balcony. I'm going to jump. Actually, I'll just hit play here.
It's clear here. You see it?
Okay, hitting pause. So you go out to the balcony. This is the first time that you go out to the balcony at about 1:37 and 50 seconds, right?
Yes.
Going to 14:30. This is you going out to the balcony a second time, right?
Yes.
Hitting play.
See this, dude.
Oh, dude. So.
It's a code 4 from now, sir.
Okay, so at hitting pause at 14:50, you announced to Sergeant Deneen to code 4, sir, right?
Yes.
Code 4 means that it's clear.
Correct.
Once you announce, and so that would be at 1:39 and 11 seconds, right?
Yes.
And after you announce code 4, you continue looking around the rooms of the house, right?
Yes.
Jumping forward to 16:20, actually 16:18. So this is you going out to the balcony a third time, right?
Yes.
Now, once the house is clear, you go back downstairs to the patio, right?
Yes.
And then you realize that you should probably get Miss Harwick's ID, so you go back upstairs to look for her identification, right?
Yes.
And at that point, other officers had opened the front door, right?
Yes.
So going to 23, timestamp 23:40. Hitting play at 23:38. Okay, so hitting pause at 23:47. This is you looking for her identification, right?
Yes.
Hitting play. Alright, hitting pause at 24:02. So you're looking for her identification with an ungloved hand at that time, right?
Yes.
Going to timestamp 30:10. $38:06.
You never saying that.
He said he was going to door knock some of these.
Okay.
Yeah, just in case.
We get another unit to put it out here.
He said we're going to go upstairs and check around a little bit.
Hitting pause. So at timestamp 30:21 and the hour of 1:54 a.m., you and Officer Edney go back upstairs to look around some more.
Yes.
Going to 31:02.
Yeah. I can tell you, it's sticky. Beads. This is urine.
Hitting pause at 31:06. Now, did you hear that the sound of something like hard hitting the floor?
You mean from this video?
Yes.
No, I didn't.
I'll go back. So going to 30:58.
This is urine.
Yeah.
I can tell you, it's sticky. Beads. This is urine.
All right. So did you hear that time?
I did, yes.
Vegas to hitting the floor. Vegas to hitting the floor foundation.
I can rephrase.
Alright.
Did you hear a sound in the background of that video?
Yes.
Okay. Was that the sound of one of those beads hitting another surface?
Possibly.
And
Foundation.
Well, he said possibly. He didn't conclusively state that it was.
now
You did hear the sound.
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay, it'll stand.
And you saw what you previously described as beads, I believe, right?
Yes, sir.
And based on what you saw the beads to be made out of, they could have made that sound if you or Officer Edney had like kicked it into the molding or something like that.
Calling for speculation.
Sustain. Rephrase your question.
I think I don't need to.
Okay.
Now, in that exchange that we just listened to between you and Officer Edney, you said that the substance you saw on the ground was urine, right?
Yes.
And Officer Edney isn't sure, right?
He doesn't appear to be sure.
Going to 31:20.
Yeah. Pretty sure.
Actually, I'd like to just go back a little to 31:09.
Shower.
Yeah, we did say
What? Yeah. Pretty sure.
Hitting pause at 31:30. So that is Officer Edney moving something on the ground. It looks like a jacket.
Yes.
He first moves it with his foot, right?
Yes.
And then he picks it up with his left hand and kind of examines it and then puts it down in a way that it was not before.
Yes.
Going to timestamp minute 37. Hitting pause at 37:02. Or sorry, hitting play at 37:02.
Stay there. You'll be able to get a higher.
Oh, sorry, I had a mistake on that time. Going to minute 32. Hitting play at 32.
Oh, hold on. So you say?
I flipped it over already.
So, you see the phone on her bed, right?
Yes.
and you put a glove on, right?
Yes.
And your partner, Officer Edney, tells you he'd already touched it and flipped it over, right?
Yes.
You look at the phone and you see that there are notifications from Google Nest, right?
Correct.
Now, a push notification is a type of notification that goes onto the screen of a locked phone where you can see kind of like a snippet of the message, right?
Yes.
And to your knowledge, Google Nest is a home security system.
Yes.
So an app can send you those push notifications even if your phone is in a locked setting, right?
Check your
Yes.
foundation.
Are you surmising that, sir? Are you speculating? Is that do you know for a fact?
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
Okay, then I will sustain the objection. To the best of your knowledge, but you can't say conclusively for sure.
Correct, sir.
All right.
Do you have a cell phone?
I do.
Do you get push notifications from apps?
Relevance.
Well, he's trying to lay a foundation, I take it.
Or apps.
Perhaps. Well, let's strike the word perhaps. Go ahead.
This is a basic. Are you familiar with what a push notification is?
Yes.
Okay.
So, now, push notifications will appear in a scrolling fashion. So if many are coming in, you only see the most recent ones.
My objection was referring to Nest app, not all apps. Just the focus is on the Nest app.
Okay.
Well, this is just how push notifications work on the phone.
Okay. I'll allow it. Go ahead.
Do you know? Can you answer?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Push notifications will appear in a scrolling fashion. So if there are multiple over time, you'll only see the most recent ones.
Most of the time, yes.
Most of the time. Are there other occasions where that does not happen?
Under customization, I would imagine you could change the status of how the push notifications appear.
I don't know any of that, so I don't know. All right.
I'll move on.
All right.
Going to timestamp 3242. Hitting play. So, hitting pause at 3247. This is you going out to the balcony a fourth time.
Yes.
Hitting play.
Yeah, it's heroin. It's looked weird at first.
That's fully loaded. Like another one of those black beads.
These beads are
From that was inside. From the OD.
Hitting pause at 3311. This is Officer Edney grabbing the railing with an ungloved right hand. Right?
Yes.
Going to timestamp 3410. 3407 actually.
probably.
You could call that disappeared.
Yeah. Yeah, it just felt weird, you know?
Like I said, I wouldn't question it, dude. If you want to eat,
Hitting pause at 3434. So that's Officer Edney looking through her purse with one gloved hand and one ungloved hand. All right?
Yes.
Going to 3828. 3827 to be exact.
Do we clear all this?
Yeah, we did.
Hitting pause at 3835. That's Officer Edney opening up a cabinet door with an ungloved right hand, right?
Yes.
Going to 3905. Actually.
Okay. Are you kidding me with this stupid thing? Hey,
hitting pause at 39:12. That's Officer Edney saying, "I just kicked a bead." Right?
Yes.
Going to minute 43.
If you want, go check it out upstairs.
Actually, it's a little too far forward. 42:50. So that's looking at the still image at 42:50. That's Officer Robles, right?
Yes.
So at about that would be roughly speaking, around 2 a.m. Officer Garcia and Robles arrive, right?
Correct.
Hitting play at 42:50.
I don't know if she's going to be in there or whatnot. There should be something. Yeah. He's just if you want, go check it out upstairs.
Hitting pause at 43:05. And so after they arrived, Officer Garcia and Robles went upstairs to check out the house, right?
I don't recall if they did or not.
Now, Officer Sweeney was supposed to accompany the paramedics in the ambulance to Cedar Sinai, right?
Either him or his partner were supposed to.
But both of them forgot, right?
I don't believe so. I believe Officer Podkowski did go with the ambulance.
All right, going to timestamp 50.
And yeah, I've already stepped on like 3 times by accident. There's a
hitting pause at 50:07. This is you and Officer Edney discussing that you've already stepped on beads like 3 times already.
Yes.
So, prior to detectives from the Homicide Bureau arriving, you and Officer Edney walked around the house multiple times, right?
Yes.
Same for Officer Sweeney and Podkowski.
Yes.
Same for Officers Garcia and Robles, right?
I don't recall if they walked through the whole house.
Same for Officers Rendon and Grossman.
Biggest the same.
That they walked through the house? You're talking about a walkthrough?
Yes.
I don't recall if they walked through the house.
Officer Delavan?
Yes.
He or she, actually, I don't know.
He walked through the house, yes.
And Sergeant Deneen also walked through the house, right?
I don't recall if Sergeant Deneen walked through the house.
And these, going through the house and searching the house, this all occurred after the Code 4 had been announced, right?
Yes.
Now, from the very moment you arrived, you thought the situation was kind of off, right?
Yes.
You didn't believe Mr. Herman's story?
I believed his story.
Didn't you think he was a suspect?
I wasn't aware of who was a suspect or who was a victim.
Well, at minimum, you thought there possibly could be foul play, right?
Correct.
So now, when there is a potential crime scene, it's important to hold that crime scene, right?
Yes.
And that means that the officer holds the scene to make sure that no one enters or exits.
Yes.
If people do enter or exit a crime scene, they can accidentally taint evidence.
Possibly.
Part of holding a crime scene can be creating a crime scene log, right?
Yes.
And that's a document that lists who entered the crime scene and when they entered, right?
Yes.
And there's an LAPD form for a crime scene log. And that form includes options to delineate whether it's an exterior or interior crime scene log, right?
Yes.
Now, in this case, Officer Grossman was the officer who originated the crime scene log. Right?
I don't recall.
To refresh your recollection to look at the crime scene log.
Yes.
if you could look at page 1, right there, and that's for that, and then page 2, exterior.
Got it.
Garcia.
Got it.
So, did that refresh your recollection, sir?
It did.
So for the interior crime scene log, Officer Grossman originated it.
Yes.
And for the exterior crime scene log, Officer Garcia originated it.
Yes.
And when I showed you these crime scene logs, did you know what they were?
Yes.
I'd like to mark them as defense.
Double Q.
QQ. And I'll just, for the sake of efficiency, I'll just make all of the pages one exhibit.
All right.
And so this is a four-page exhibit showing it to the people.
Okay. Just to get a sense.
I'm not going to admit it, but I'm going to ask you questions.
Are you going to mark it? Or you want your client?
I think it should be marked at this point.
Well, why don't you just mark it? It's up to you if you admit it at the end. You seek to admit it. We haven't reached that point yet.
Okay.
All right. Just out of time-wise, how much longer do you have with this witness?
Not very long.
Okay. Just.
Well, it's definitely be done by lunch.
All right.
So this is QQ, right?
Yes. Double Q.
So you did recognize this crime scene log, right?
Yes.
And let's talk about the interior crime scene log. So the earliest time that is marked for any employee of law enforcement arriving is 5 in the morning, right?
Believe so.
All right. All of the officers that we were just discussing, including yourself, do not appear on this interior crime scene log prior to 5 a.m., right?
I don't have one in front of me.
Would it help to look at it?
Yes.
Look up when you're done, please.
Just for the interior, correct?
Correct.
That's correct, yes, sir.
So prior to 5 a.m., all of the foot traffic in and out of the house, which did also include staff from the fire department, none of that is reflected in the interior crime scene log. Is that true?
Yes.
Just a compound.
Oh.
Convey.
I don't know. Is it yes to everything?
I'm sorry, sir?
Is it yes to to the questions that you posed?
Neither of those, the officers nor the fire department was listed on the...
All right.
After you cleared the house, well, actually, multiple times throughout the night, you and your partner spoke with Michael Herman, right?
Yes.
And you asked him what happened.
Yes.
You asked him what happened in multiple different moments, including when you first arrived, right?
Yes.
After the paramedics arrived?
Yes.
So in other words, you took multiple statements from him throughout the night, right?
Yes.
And he never told you he heard sounds of choking, right?
Not to my recollection.
He never told you that he heard profuse coughing, right?
Not to my recollection.
You would have included both of those in your report had he told you that.
Yes.
He also said that Miss Harwick was yelling the entire time through the moment that he left the house to go out to the street, right?
He told me she was screaming.
You do not have any formal medical training or background other than what you receive as part of the academy and part of being a police officer, right?
Correct.
In your report for this case, isn't it true that when describing what your partner did, Officer Edney, when he first went up to Miss Harwick, you wrote that he touched her with a gloved hand, right?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And upon reviewing your body-worn video, isn't it true that his hand was ungloved when you touched her?
Yes.
Nothing further.
Anything?
Yes. Is the body-worn video, is that the best evidence of your interaction with Michael Herman?
Yes.
Okay, so whatever discussion you had with Michael Herman, it's on the body-worn video.
Correct.
The questions you posed to him, he answered.
Yes.
Questions that you didn't pose to him, he didn't answer.
Correct.
And now, you get the call, according to People's Exhibit number 16, the 911 log. Do you get it sometime around 1:14 in the morning?
Yes, sir.
And then, according to the body-worn video, you arrive at about 1:30 in the morning.
Correct.
Can I have those pictures of video service?
Yes, sir.
So, while we're getting that, did anything significant happen by the time between the time you left the police station to the time that you got to the location where this crime scene?
Yes, I believe so.
What happened?
Amy Hardwick was attacked.
Well, no, I'm asking you about things you know. Like on your drive to 2086, did anything happen? The video that we were just shown, the 5 minutes of you driving over there, did anything significant happen in that part?
We got lost.
Okay. Other than that, anything else?
No.
Let me just show one. This is defense video still. PP double
P what?
double P11.
All right.
All right. You see the timestamp on that video still of 9:42? I mean, that would be 1:42 in the morning, correct?
Yes.
But you see her body for the first time around 1:30 a.m.
Yes.
Okay, so you get the call at 1:14 a.m. and you see her body for the first time at 1:30 a.m.
Yes, sir.
It's like a 14-15 minute gap.
Yes, sir.
Do you know what the position of her body was before you saw her?
No.
Now, counsel showed you a clip from Officer Edney's body-worn video. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
Where he appears to touch her. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you remember what part of her body he touched?
Her middle back.
Okay. Was there any blood on her middle back?
No.
How long did he touch her for?
Less than a second.
So for less than a second, he touches her on a part where you didn't see any blood.
Correct.
Did he say, "I got blood in my fingers"?
No.
Did you see any blood on his fingers?
No.
So the video clip counsel showed you, he only touched her for about 1 second.
Correct.
And he touched her on a part, which part again of the body?
Her lower to middle back.
Was there a dress at on that part?
Yes.
And did you see any blood on that dress?
No.
Now, are you when you get to a crime scene like this, are you supposed to clear the house first, or are you supposed to hold it to make sure you start a log and start checking people in who arrive at the crime scene?
Clear the house first, sir.
Why is that?
To deem it safe for everyone involved.
And was that your priority on this occasion?
It was.
Are you required to wear gloves when you're clearing a house?
No.
Why not?
Because of the exigency of suspects or other victims inside the house.
Okay. Would it be good practice to wear gloves?
Yes.
Okay. Well, why didn't you wear gloves on this occasion?
Again, just because of the exigency, and we wanted to deem it safe for the ambulance that was on their way, as well as officers that were en route to the location as well.
So when you arrived at the crime scene, did you know that the suspect, whoever may have been involved with this, Do you know whether he was still in the house or not?
No.
Now, all these officers, like Officer Edney, he had his own body-worn camera.
He did.
And Sergeant Deneen had body-worn video.
Yes.
And the other officers had body-worn video.
Yes.
So if you have access to this body-worn video, you could see what they're touching and where they're going.
Correct.
Now, counsel showed you a internal log, the log for people coming into the house. Did you write that log?
No.
Do you know why the person that wrote that log wrote it the way he did, saying that people were coming in at 5 a.m.?
No.
Is the log started after detectives get involved? To your knowledge?
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
And you and your partner, Officer Eddie, were the first to arrive at this crime scene.
Correct.
And then counsel showed you a part of the video where you approached the kitchen. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And he asked you, you opened the kitchen door. Do you remember him asking you that?
Yes.
And just to be clear, was the kitchen door already open when you got to the kitchen?
It was already open.
So you just pushed it further open?
Correct.
And did you know the Nest app settings for this particular phone that was on the bed?
No.
Do you know what it was recording?
No.
Do you know what kind of subscription the person had on Nest?
No.
You have one more on? And when you first, and I'm not sure if I already asked you this, but when you first came into the house, you jumped over that iron gate, landed in that front patio. Did you see the damage to those French doors that lead into the living room?
No, I did not.
I have nothing further.
Incredibly briefly, showing you defense PP1. The timestamp from that is 1:30 and 36 seconds, right?
Correct.
PP3. That's just 2 seconds later.
Yes.
PP4. 1:30 and 52 seconds, right?
Yes.
So this position is how you encountered her in the patio, right?
Yes.
And so when you testified on direct, you testified the other day that her head was tilted to the left, her head was kind of tucked under her left shoulder. So that was a mistake, that you misremembered where the direction her head was facing, right? Her head was facing to the right over her right shoulder, right?
That's correct.
And it wasn't, and her chin was slightly up, it wasn't tucked into the left shoulder.
Correct.
Nothing further.
Anything based on those questions?
Just why do you keep going into the house after the initial time that you went into the house?
Objection outside the scope.
Allow the answer.
We continue to enter the house to look for further evidence of either what we initially believed to be an overdose or what we also believe to be possible suicide, or lastly, any other evidence of a possible further crime or of a murder.
Are you still trying to figure things out as you're there?
Yes, sir.
And are you still going in there to try to figure things out?
Yes, sir.
I have nothing further.
All right, you may step down.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and break for lunch. If you would, have a good lunch. We'll see you at 1:30. Remember, it's till 3 o'clock today. Thank you. On the record of this matter, people, you may call your next witness.
Yes, people call Dr. Alan Wu to the stand.
All right. Oh, yeah? Oh, yeah. I remember. You could raise your right hand.
Do you solemnly state that the testimony you're about to give and the cause now pending before this court should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do swear.
Thank you. Please have a seat. Please state and spell both your first and last name.
Alan Wu, A-L-A-N-W-U.
All right, people.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Please tell the jury what it is that you do for a living.
I am a professor of laboratory medicine at the University of California, San Francisco, and I am one of the laboratory directors at the Zuckerberg San Francisco General Hospital.
And can you briefly describe your education for this position?
I have bachelor's degrees in chemistry and biology, a doctoral degree, PhD degree from the University of Illinois in analytical chemistry, and postdoctoral training in clinical chemistry.
Can you briefly describe your training and experience in chemistry?
Well, I'm trained to operate clinical laboratories in hospitals and medical centers.
And how many years have you been doing that?
41.
And are you the chief clinical chemistry toxicology laboratories of San Francisco General Hospital?
Now called the Zuckerberg San Francisco General Hospital, yes.
And do you hold any licenses or certifications?
I'm licensed by the American Board of Clinical Chemistry in both clinical chemistry and toxicological chemistry, and by the state of California for clinical chemistry.
Since when?
My American Board licensure dates to 1982 and 1983, and my California license dates to 2005, the year after I arrived in California.
And do you hold any positions in any advisory committees?
I am a member of the Medical Advisory Committee for the Northern California Poison Control Center.
What does that entail, being a member of that committee?
It is an advisory committee for the Poison Center itself, who receives calls and cases from families, from doctors, from nurses about patients and subjects who have been exposed to poisons and toxicological substances.
And is your laboratory accredited?
Yes.
Accredited so far as what?
It is accredited by the Health and Human Services Centers for Medicare and Medicaid as a high complexity clinical laboratory.
What does that mean, high complexity clinical laboratory?
Well, it's the highest level of certification that HHS grants. It allows us to do testing that is above and beyond automated procedures.
And back in May of 2002, did LAPD detectives contact you to conduct analysis on what they believed was nicotine?
Yes.
And did they ask you whether you can determine the quantity of nicotine, the purity of nicotine in that vial?
Yes.
And did you indicate that you could do that?
Yes.
And how would you be able to do that?
We use instrumentation that allows us to quantitate levels of drugs, poisons, and toxins and chemicals found in various fluids.
And what type of instruments do you use to do that?
In our particular situation, we use high-resolution time-of-flight, liquid chromatography, mass spectrometry.
And is that a generally accepted method of using that instrument to conduct that type of analysis?
You need to clarify what type of analysis are you referring to?
For the purity of the nicotine.
We use this instrument for medical purposes. We test blood, urine, other types of biological fluids. We have also used it to determine purity, but that is not what we normally do.
But you're able to do it?
Yes.
And prior to your analysis, did you receive from the prosecution reports from a Dr. Maureen Bradley?
I did.
Okay. And these are reports related to her analysis back in August of 25th, 2020. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe that Dr. Bradley was an analyst at the FBI lab in Quantico, Virginia.
Okay. And you read her notes on her analysis of the liquid? You could answer that.
Yes, I did.
Including that she determined that the liquid was nicotine.
That is correct.
He's testifying as an expert in this category, in this field, a lot. You can rely on reports and hearsay.
And you took that into consideration for your analysis, too?
Yes, I read her reports, and we followed some of the procedures that she used in generating her report 2 years earlier.
And sometime around May 2nd, 2002, did you receive an item 66, 2 vials?
Yes.
Did you take a picture of the envelope of item number 66?
Yes.
I have here a one-page photograph, and just remind people's next in order, people's number 60. 60?
Yes.
Looking here at people 60, do you see that photograph?
Yes, I do.
Did you take that photograph?
Yes.
Okay. And the number 66 for the item number?
It's not well written. The first 6 could be construed as an 8, but I believe with other documents that is number 66.
Okay. And it's a package with the name Amy Harwick and a DI number of 2006-06220.
Correct.
Now, when you received these 2 vials, you didn't know where these vials came from.
Well, I knew they came from ultimately the laboratory at Quantico that had been sent to the LAPD evidence desk. Don't know the official name. So it ultimately came from the LAPD, but I think the origin was the Quantico laboratory.
Yes, and that's based on your review of Dr. Bradley's notes.
Correct.
Okay. And so you received these 2 vials for item 66, and you tested them.
I did.
And how did you test them?
Using the aforementioned instrumentation.
And what did you determine as far as item 66?
There was no compounds of interest found in it. It appeared to be just perhaps liquid water. There was nothing in it.
Okay. And did you contact LAPD to let them know that?
I did.
And did they send you something else?
Well, we had a conversation, and I believe one of the people I spoke to was an officer, Masterson.
Detective Masterson?
Yes.
Okay.
And he went through the records and concluded that the LAPD evidence office had sent the wrong vial.
Did they then send you the vials for item 21?
They did.
And did you take photographs of that package?
Yes.
Look, you want to have another series of photographs A through D. May this be marked as people's number 61?
Yes.
Looking at 61. A. Do you recognize what's shown there?
It's a photograph that I took.
And this is for a package with an item 21.
It's correct. It's listed in two places. The one just to the left also says item, and then it says 35 crossed out, and some date and initial, the best I can see. And then written to the right of that is again item number 21.
Now, did you receive this package sometime around July 11th, 2002?
Yes, that would be roughly 2 months after I received item number 66 through the same LAPD.
And you see this number here, the sticker on People's 61A, where it's a sticker that has the labeling packaging A1 2020-00954 number 1.
I see that.
Okay, is that a lab report number for the FBI that was used by Dr. Bradley in analyzing a liquid from a syringe that was provided to her?
I believe so. I compared her notes, handwritten notes, as well as the written report on her analysis of this material, and those numbers appear to agree.
Looking at page B of this exhibit, did you take photographs of the contents of that envelope that we just showed the jury?
Yes.
And can you tell us what is shown here?
Well, there's two things in this particular photograph. One is an outer envelope, or rather outer sleeve, which when I received the evidence, contained the syringe inside the sleeve. I opened it, documented that I had done this, pulled it out so that I could show what the syringe looked like, and then took a picture of both the syringe and the outer cupboard.
And I'm looking at photograph C. Is this a close-up of that syringe?
It is the same syringe and outer casing with the syringe inside.
And was there also a vial in that package?
There was.
And did you take a photograph of that?
I did.
And is that here on people's photograph D of this exhibit?
Yes, it is.
And turn this around, zooming in on the labeling on the vial on photograph D. Does that have the FBI lab number 2020-00954 and then item 1 on the vial?
So I can ascertain the photo is a little bit illegible with the second digit of the 00. That is in fact the second digit. It is 2020-00954, and then the first word underneath is the word item. The letter I is a little bit obscured because of the angle that the photograph was taken, but I can assure you, or I can ascertain, that this in fact was labeled item 1.
And this is the item 1 as labeled in Dr. Bradley's notes for what she generated.
Correct.
So what exactly did you test at this point at your laboratory?
The contents of that vial.
And how did you do that?
We took out a small amount of the contents of that vial for your syringe. We put it onto a balance, a weighing device. We determined how much we withdrew, approximately 100 microliters, weighed it, and then from that point on, performed the analysis.
And can you just briefly explain to the jury, what is that analysis? What does that analysis entail?
Well, the first thing that we have to do is to dilute the sample, because our instruments are highly sensitive. We can see specks full of drugs that can't be seen by the visible eye. If you're going to take 100 microliters of what we thought was a reasonably pure material, this would have overloaded our instrument by 1,000,000-fold. So we had to dilute the liquid content that we obtained from that vial in 2 serial dilutions to the extent that it was diluted 1,000,000-fold, 10 to the 6th.
And what was the result of that?
I'm sorry, what was the result of the dilution?
What was the result of your analysis?
Well, that was just the preparatory analysis. We then had to do the instrumentation analysis, which consisted of first ensuring that the instrument was correctly calibrated with known standards, making sure that the instrument was clean, that there was the necessary quality controls that we put in there to demonstrate that the instrument was operational. We determined that there was no carryover from any existing samples. So the first step, prior to touching anything from this evidence, was to calibrate the instrument.
And was that done?
Yes.
And you said you used a standard. What do you mean by that?
A standard is a material that we purchase that is certified by the manufacturer of that material to be what it says it to be, as well as the content and purity of the standard itself. So these are things that are documented prior to us using them.
Okay. What standard did you use in this case?
Nicotine.
At what purity level?
The purity level indicated by the manufacturer was greater than 99.9%.
And did you, as an expert, did you believe that to be reliable? That the standard was 99% pure nicotine?
We don't verify the purity. That's beyond the scope of our work. But we've never had an issue with a substandard material.
And then, did you continue your analysis?
Once the instrument was calibrated, I might mention that this is a step that the FBI lab does not do, which was the reason that we were engaged in this work. They do not do quantitative analysis. And so we were asked to provide a quantitative analysis of the content in item number 1. It was required that we calibrate the instrument. Once the instrument was calibrated to our satisfaction, we injected the sample.
And then what happened?
Once the result has been completed, which takes about an hour, all told, including the calibration, we look at the instrument printouts and we evaluate the contents for 2 things. Number 1, what is it, and what degree of confidence do we have that it is what we think it is, i.e. nicotine. So before doing any type of calculation, we wanted to be sure that we were dealing with, in fact, the chemical in question, because had it not been the chemical in question, such as what we saw for item number 66, there was no point going any further.
And what did the printouts show you on this occasion?
We were able to demonstrate that this material was, in fact, nicotine to above the acceptance criteria that we have in the laboratory for this compound.
Okay. And did you retain records of these printouts?
Yes.
Okay. And were those included with your report?
No.
They were not. And what else did the analysis show you as far as purity?
Well, so after we've ascertained that, in fact, the material that we were looking at was, in fact, nicotine, we determined the purity of that material by comparing it, by first determining the concentration of the material that we injected into our instrument, compared it to our calibration curve, came up with a concentration, back calculated to the amount of material that we took originally from the balance, and did a calculation.
And what was the result of that calculation?
It rounded up to 87% pure.
Pure nicotine?
Yes.
Is nicotine at that purity level, is that a poison?
Based on your training and experience, are you able to answer that question?
Yes.
Okay, you may.
And the answer is yes. That high of a concentration is beyond what you would ever expect to see in a cigarette or in a smokeless tobacco or any other nicotine product. This is highly poisonous, in my opinion.
And did you document your findings in a report?
Yes.
And did you date that report August 8th, 2022?
Yes.
Did you include pictures of the instrument used?
Don't believe so.
Did you include graphs for the calibration curve of the
Yes.
nicotine standard.
Yes.
Now, is your laboratory accredited to run purity exams analysis?
No.
Why not?
As I testified earlier, the purpose of my laboratory is to provide qualitative, which means unknown analysis, as well as quantitative, in other words, how much of drugs, chemicals, and substances in biological fluids. We don't generally do purity analysis, but we have done so in other cases for various medical reasons.
Does the fact that you don't have well, first of all, is there more stringent accreditation to do the analysis that you do on organic and tissue?
Objection, foundation, speculation.
Again,
Accreditation board.
are you able to answer that based on your training experience?
Yes.
Even though that your lab is not accredited?
Yes.
With respect to purity? Okay, you may.
I am familiar with the standards necessary to get accreditation for forensic purposes. I have been part of other laboratories that have had forensic certification. The standards for medical certification, in my opinion, are higher. That we do more things to verify the accuracy of the tests that we provide than does a forensic laboratory. And the difference being that in a forensic environment, that you're dealing with legal issues by definition. Forensic means legal proceedings. In a clinical environment, the results of our testing are used to make medical decisions. Medical decisions that can affect a person's life, that can affect their survival. And if we get the information wrong by providing the incorrect medical decisions, people could be unduly harmed.
So the fact that you don't have an accreditation to conduct this type of forensic analysis, does that affect the accuracy of your results in any way?
We use the exact same procedures as accredited forensic laboratories, whether they be in the medical examiner's office or a FBI laboratory. The methodologies are the same, the principles are the same. We just only sought certification for clinical testing.
And what is your fee to work on a case like this, your hourly rate?
Well, there is a fee for conducting the analyses, which is separate from what I'm doing now. My expert testimony and opinions on this case, I charge $400 an hour.
And about how many hours have you been involved in this particular case?
10.
And that's dating back to May of 2022.
Yes.
Just for clarity, you charge $400 for testimony?
Testimony, preparing reports, reviewing records, reviewing depositions, telephone calls, anything related to this case.
The same rate? Same rate as your testimony?
Correct.
Okay.
I don't differentiate.
Understood.
And were you also provided with Dr. Bradley's preliminary hearing testimony?
Yes.
And did you also review that?
Several times.
May I have one moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
In her preliminary hearing testimony for Dr. Maureen Bradley, did you note that she gave an opinion that she believed that based on her using a 99% standard that the liquid that she tested was approximately 90 to 100%? That she said that you can infer from that it has a purity of, say, approximately 90 to 100%.
I did read that.
And what is your opinion of that opinion?
Overruled. I mean, this witness testified to 87% purity versus what is it, Dr. Bradley?
Dr. Maureen Bradley.
Bradley's figures were, so I'll allow him to explain.
You can go
So any analytical measurement has error limits. Nothing is absolute. There are a range of values that this number could be. And I estimate it to be a few percent, 3 to 5%. Excuse me.
So your results could be, the purity of the liquid you tested could be off by 3 to 5%.
Correct. And if you add it to that 87%, it does concur with Dr. Bradley's conclusion.
I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Cross-examination. Yes.
Good afternoon, Dr. Wu. You were asked in this case to test the sample for the purity of nicotine, right?
Yes.
And
do you have water there? Okay, good. All right.
I'll give you a second.
Thank you for asking.
Well, I can relate.
I don't have COVID.
Oh, okay.
And I know I'm a doctor.
All right, yes.
Thank you. You were not asked to test the sample to identify all compounds in the sample.
Correct.
Your analysis revealed nicotine as the major compound.
Yes.
And there were other compounds present that were not the major compound.
No.
There was not cotinine?
No. It may have been present, but it was present perhaps in a trace amount. It's not a major component, no.
No, my question was there were other compounds present that were not the major component.
There may have been, but we were not asked to look for them.
Right, that's all I'm asking.
Sorry.
So no, I'm sure my question was probably poorly phrased. Now, gas chromatography mass spectrometry is a generally accepted method for identifying substances.
Yes.
And it's an incredibly reliable method if done well.
Yes.
Did you ever speak about the facts of your work with either of the prosecuting attorneys, Ms. Mariano or Mr. Avila, over the phone, or was it all via email?
Over the phone with Mr. Avila.
Okay. Do you recall when that was?
This morning, a few days ago, a few weeks ago, multiple occasions.
Okay. Do you recall if any of those conversations were recorded?
I don't believe they were recorded, no.
In your report, you indicated that the total volume of solution that you extracted was determined by a micropipette.
Yes.
And that's the instrument. A micropipette is the instrument you use to pull the liquid from the vial, right?
Yes.
It's also the instrument that allows you to measure it, right?
Well, in this case, it was used to just extract it because we ended up putting it onto a vial that was pre-weighed when empty and weighed it. So we actually didn't use the volume taken, we used the weight.
You were CC'd on emails between Dr. Benowitz and Mr. Avila, right?
Only initially, when Dr. Benowitz recommended me in my lab to participate in this case, or invited me to consider participating, those were the only emails that I had with him.
You were aware of the role that your analysis would play in this case, though?
Vague as to the role his analysis would play?
It's a stain. Let's put that up if you would count.
You were aware that Dr. Benowitz would rely on your work on the purity for him to form an opinion?
I didn't know the circumstances of the case, didn't know who the defendant was or who the victim was. All I know was that this was a case of a nicotine analysis, and the circumstances surrounding the case were never made known to me.
You were aware that Dr. Benowitz was attached to the case in some way?
Yes, I did know that. He was the one who referred the DA to me.
And that he would review your work in preparing for his own testimony? I
don't know if he ever reviewed my work. I've never had a discussion with him, and I see him every 2 weeks.
Included in your compensation, does that include travel?
This is the only travel, and I have yet to invoice for the travel, so it does not.
Will that be part of it?
Yes.
You testified that, in your opinion, one of the reasons that the medical accreditation is more stringent than forensic is because that there are people's lives at stake in the medical clinical setting. Right?
Yes, I said that.
Isn't it true that there are also people's lives at stake in legal settings?
Section argumentative as phrased.
I think you use the language that people could be unduly harmed in the medical and clinical setting. And my question is, if there are errors made in the legal setting too, people could be unduly harmed.
Section argumentative and foundation.
Well, I mean, I'll sustain it in terms of foundation. I mean, you know that your results or analysis could impact, say, a legal proceeding like this.
Of course.
Okay, yeah.
And I think you answered this in kind of a big picture way, but I just want to ask very specifically that your lab does not have the ISO IEC 17025 accreditation.
That's correct.
One of the two numbers that you need to know to determine purity is density, right?
Yes.
And in terms of the equation that you use, that you included in your report, density is the bottom denominator of the equation.
Yes.
Concentration is on top.
Yes.
So to be confident that your calculation regarding purity is correct, you need to have an accurate density.
Yes.
And even a slight inaccuracy can change the purity number significantly.
Well, it would have to be an egregious error in the density, which would be difficult because most fluids have a density of about 1.00. Nicotine is in a fluid. It has a slightly higher density, but not more than 1% difference. So even if we had used the wrong density, the estimate would only be off by 1% or so.
Okay. The balance you use to measure density, it can only go out, and I'm talking about the instrument, it can only go out 2 decimal places, right?
Yes.
There are density meter instruments that go out 3, right?
And even 4, yes.
And you have those types of instruments in your lab?
We do.
Your report didn't include a measure of uncertainty.
Correct.
And it also didn't include method validation parameters.
Correct.
The calibration curve wasn't run in triplicate.
That's correct.
And I think that on direct you mentioned your own error rate, but I don't think that was included in the report, was it?
It was not.
Is that a synonym of error bar?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, okay. And so neither were included in your report.
That's correct.
The report didn't include sample prep information.
I think we did include it. We even showed a picture of the sample actually being weighed on the balance itself.
And nothing further.
Anything?
No questions.
Thank you, Doctor. You may step down.
People call Detective Wetzel to the stand.
All right. All right, Detective, if you could approach the witness stand, please. Down here. You could raise your right hand, face my clerk here.
You solemnly state that the testimony you're about to give and the cause now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you. Please have a seat. Please state and spell both your first and last name.
Brian Wetzel, Brian, last name Whetsel.
May I have one moment?
Yeah.
All right. Please tell the jury what it is that you do for a living.
I'm sorry?
Please tell the jury what it is that you do for a living.
I'm a police detective supervisor for the Los Angeles Police Department. I'm currently assigned to Gang and Narcotics Division, and I'm a supervisor for the LAPD FBI Fugitive Task Force.
And how many years have you been a police officer?
30 years.
And how many years have you been a detective?
Approximately 14, 16 years.
Okay. Drawing your attention to the date of February 15, 2020, what was your assignment back on that date?
I was a detective supervisor for the Gang and Narcotics Division, LAPD, FBI Fugitive Task Force.
And as part of that task force, were you assigned to arrest a Gareth Pursehouse on February 15, 2020, sometime after 4 p.m.?
February 15th on 2020, but it was, yes, we started the operation at approximately 14:30 hours, which would be at 2:30 p.m.
Okay. And how many members were part of this task force?
That day, I had approximately, I believe, 8 other detectives out there with me.
And what information did you receive in an attempt to arrest Mr. Gareth Pursehouse?
As far as
like photographs, how would you recognize them? What kind of vehicle he drove?
Yeah, so we conducted a briefing prior to doing the operation, at which time Mr. Pursehouse was identified, and we had a photo of him through his California ID photo, and then physical descriptors as long as description of his vehicle.
Right. And his DMV photo, did it include a description of his height and weight?
Yes.
And do you remember what that height and weight was?
I believe it's approximately 6 feet 4 inches, about 230 pounds.
And so you were looking, and you also had a picture of Mr. Pursehouse?
Yes, that's correct.
And did you know what kind of vehicle he drove at that time?
Yes.
And what kind of vehicle were you told he drove at that time?
It was a 2017 Lexus, 4-door red. I believe the license was 8 Adam George Sam 266.
And I have a photograph, an exhibit with 3 photographs showing a red vehicle. May this be marked people's necks in order?
Yeah, 62.
62 photographs, A, B, and C. In that photograph A, of people 62. You recognize that vehicle?
Yes.
How do you recognize it?
That's the same vehicle that Mr. Pursehouse was arrested in that day when he was driving the vehicle away.
And where did you and your task force arrest Mr. Garrett Pursehouse?
We conducted a surveillance at his residence of record, or the address on his California ID, with the 8148 Cabrera.
Cabrera Drive?
Yes.
In the city of Playa del Rey?
Yes.
I have a map, Your Honor, here showing the address of 8148 of Bora Drive. May this be marked as People 63?
Yes.
Looking at People 63, you tell the jury what is shown there.
It's an aerial photo of depicting 8148 Cabrera Drive.
Is that the address you have for defendant Garrett Pursehouse?
Yes.
And I have a photograph showing a close-up of a garage and Cabrera Street. May this be marked People's Next in Order number 64, A and B?
Yes.
Looking at 64A, you recognize what's shown there?
Yes, that's the garage associated with that address, and it's the garage facing, leading out onto Cabrera Street.
Looking at photograph B of this exhibit, can you tell us what is shown there?
Well, if you look at, that's the intersection of Cabrera and Sinaloa Drive.
Okay. Looking at photograph 63, People 63?
Yes.
It's Sinaloa shown here and Cabrera.
Yes.
And so about what time did you arrive at the defendant's address?
We started conducting surveillance approximately 14:30 hours.
So 2:30 p.m.?
2:30 p.m., yes.
So when you say you started conducting surveillance, what does that mean?
Well, we set up an attempt to locate the suspect. We believe that was the address of record for him, so we set up on location the event that he would exit, at which time we would take him into custody.
Okay. So did you have vehicles at different locations on different streets near his address?
Yes.
And at some point, did you notice a vehicle exiting that garage depicted on People 64A?
Yeah, so during the surveillance, it was put out that the suspect had exited and moved a bike in front of the garage door, and that then he entered the vehicle and was exiting the garage and then started to pull away westbound on Cabrera.
Did anybody notice whether there was any other passenger with him at the time that he entered the vehicle?
Yes, I saw another passenger with him.
Can you describe this other person?
It was a female white wearing a white sweatshirt.
Did you later make contact with this white female?
Yes.
And looking here at a photograph with the name of Judice Angelina, this be marked People's Next in Order, number
65.
65. You see that there, that DMV photo?
Yes.
Is that the person you later identified as the passenger in Mr. Purshouse's car on the date of his arrest?
Yes.
And so you mentioned that defendant Pursehouse got into his vehicle, is that correct?
Yes.
And did the woman also get into the vehicle?
Yes, when I saw her, she was in the vehicle.
And just to go back to 62A, looking at photograph B, is this a picture of the back of the vehicle with the license plate number of 8AGS266?
Yes.
I'm looking at photograph C, is that the picture of the left side of the vehicle?
Correct, the driver's side.
And back to 63. So what happened after they were seen entering that red vehicle?
So the vehicle pulled away out of the garage and began driving westbound Cabrera Drive, at which I ordered that we were going to initiate a stop of the vehicle.
And it was a vehicle approaching Sinaloa Road?
Yes.
And so what, can you explain to the jury what happened at that point?
So as they were driving westbound towards Sinaloa on Cabrera, As they approached the intersection, I had vehicles pre-staged, at which time we initiated a traffic stop right at the intersection of Cabora and Sinaloa.
Okay, and during this traffic stops, were guns drawn?
Yes.
And why is that?
Because it was a felony stop of a murder suspect.
And so at that point, you don't know if the person's armed or what the situation is.
Yeah, that's correct.
And was he taken out of his vehicle without incident?
Yes.
Okay. Was there any struggle with him at all?
No.
Okay. Did anybody touch him in any way? Anybody hit him or do anything like that to him?
No, he was cooperative and was taken into custody without incident.
So nobody caused any bruises or abrasions on him?
No.
And I'm going to play a video clip at this time. It's only, I think, 1 or 2 minutes, and ask you if you recognize this as a clip showing a part of that interaction with Mr. Pershouse at the time of his arrest.
Is that an exhibit, or is it included in something else?
It's an exhibit, Your Honor. May this be marked people's next in order. There's
66.
66. There's no sound, so there's not going to be a transfer.
All right. That's a DVD, I take it?
I'm sorry?
It's a DVD?
Just a DVD.
All right.
Can we play it now, Your Honor?
Yes, of course.
You recognize this video?
Yes. I recognize the location and the vehicles. I believe it was probably a video taken from one of the responding patrol officers.
Are these, at this time, are these members of the unit? The
Yes.
task force? Okay,
Yes.
Let me stop it right there. If we could just go back a few seconds. Do you see a female over to the right of this video ad with the timestamp has it as
Before that.
This is at 32. I'm starting at 32 seconds. I'm gonna have to go back a little bit. Right there. Okay. Now I stopped it at 32 seconds. Do you see what appears to be a female on the right side?
Yes.
And who is that?
That would be Angelique.
Angelique Judice?
Yes.
Okay. In this video clip, you don't see the defendant.
He's in the video. He's in there.
Okay. I'm sorry?
Yes, the defendant's in that video.
Okay. And can we just back up to that? All right, and I stopped it at 22 seconds. Is that the defendant who appears to be in the front of a vehicle?
Yes, he's standing in front of the silver Chevy Colorado truck.
Okay, and you see the clothing he's wearing?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to show you another photograph. This of an individual, and this we mark people's next in order.
67.
67. Looking at people 67. Is that a photograph of defendant Defendant Pershaus the clothing he was wearing that at the time of his arrest?
Yes, it is.
And after his arrest, was he taken somewhere?
Yes.
Objection foundation.
Well, do you know for a fact that he was transported somewhere?
Yes, he was transported back to the police station.
Okay. No rule.
And looking back at People's Exhibit number 62, the vehicle, the red Lexus, did you determine whether that vehicle was registered to the defendant?
Objection foundation. Speculation.
Well, Joe, the defendant's side, I have to hear from him.
You can answer that.
Yes.
How did you do that?
By running the plate number.
Objection hearsay.
No rule.
And did you do that?
Yes.
And was a copy of the registration documented?
Yes, a copy of the DMV printout.
And did that vehicle with the license plate number 8AGS266 come back to a registered owner of Pershaus Garrett at 8148 Cabora Drive, City of Playa del Rey?
Objection foundation hearsay.
No rule.
You can answer.
Yes, it did.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Cross-examination.
Good afternoon, Detective Wetzel.
Good afternoon.
Oh, Your Honor, I did forget something. May I?
Go ahead.
All right. Now, not asking you to answer questions you may not know about, but at some point were you informed that the defendant had been released?
Yes.
And were you asked to rearrest him?
Yes.
And was he rearrested on February 19th, 2020?
Yes.
And were you part of that arrest?
Yes, I was.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
All right, Mr. Franco.
Good afternoon, Detective.
Good afternoon.
Following Mr. Pershaus' February 15th, 2020 arrest, he posted bail.
Yes, I was advised that he posted bail.
And then he was rearrested on the 19th, right?
Yes, February 19th.
You were part of that second arrest, right?
Yes, correct.
Was it the same task force?
Yes.
Now, it's a LAPD, FBI, I want to get the name right. What's the name of the task force?
Fugitive Task Force.
Okay. It's comprised of LAPD detectives like yourself, right?
Yes.
And also an FBI employee or two?
Yeah, FBI agents.
And how many FBI agents were part of the February 15th arrest?
On that day, only one FBI agent was with us.
And how many on the 19th?
I believe only one.
Neither the FBI agents nor LAPD detectives wear any sort of body-worn video when effectuating either of these two arrests in this case.
That is correct.
In terms of the arrest on the 15th, there were multiple unmarked SUVs that were positioned in advance of the arrest, right?
Yes.
Do you recall how many?
I believe it was 8 of us out there that day.
Each with his or her own vehicle?
Yes, each detective and FBI agent was assigned with their own vehicle. So it's one man per vehicle. Man or woman per vehicle.
Publishing People 63. Approximately, do you recall where the 8 vehicles were positioned immediately before the arrest?
I believe I had.
And if you need a pointer, sorry to interrupt you. If you need a pointer, there should be one behind you.
Next.
I believe I had one detective up here. This would be the south end of the residence for 8148. So I had detectives up here in the event that someone were to walk out.
If I may just
On the
make a
Tuscany?
record, yeah. So
I'm sorry.
It looks like no. I just want to make sure the record's clear. It appears to me that you are pointing at Tuscany, where it could, right in the lower right hand part of the image, where the back of 8148 would arrive on Tuscany. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Okay. Continue, please.
I believe I had on the upper right-hand corner, it really doesn't depict it in this photo, but I had at least two units to the east in the event he would drive out and drive to the east.
Okay, so let the record reflect that Officer Detective Wetzel was pointing to the very upper right-hand corner where Cabora was off of the image.
Right. And then I had the remaining officers or detectives staged on Sinaloa and maybe Sinaloa and Cabora.
And the detective is pointing to the intersection of Sinaloa and Cabora.
Right. And so they're placed along Sinaloa, and then also Cabora looks like it turns into like a cul-de-sac as it goes to the north.
Okay. And the officer, the detective, is pointing towards where Cabora goes off the image on the right-hand side. So when you ordered for the arrest to occur, did the single agent and all of the detectives respond to the intersection of Cabora and Sinaloa?
Not initially. Eventually, yes. Not initially.
Okay. In the moment of the arrest, how many of these unmarked SUVs appeared?
You're talking about the initial arrest, is that correct?
Right. Once you give the order for the arrest to occur, how many of the SUVs then came in to effectuate the arrest?
So the one that was on Tuscany stayed. The other two on the east, covering the east, they would have stayed. So the only people during the actual, at the moment of arrest or the takedown, would be approximately 5 vehicles.
And they approached in a way so that to prevent any ability for the car to drive down Sinaloa or Cabora, right?
Yes, I believe one traveled north to south on Cabora, Sinaloa, right at Cabora, and the other one traveled south to north. I think the remaining traveled south to north,
and
right at the intersection.
Thank you. And let the record reflect that the Detective Wetzel was pointing at the intersection of Cabora and Sinaloa. You had somebody with a long gun on a building, right?
At which point?
Prior to and throughout the arrest until it was clear.
I'm not sure what you're saying.
You had a detective with a long gun pointing at a building for security sake. So just kind of to cut to the chase, the detectives and the FBI agent were pretty heavily armed, right?
Not heavily armed. I mean, we're armed with the equipment that we have.
One individual had like a big shotgun rifle with a. Isn't that true?
Yes, one of the long guns was a shotgun.
If I have a few screenshots that I'd like to mark as defense next in order.
Double R.
Double R, right?
Excuse me, not double R yet.
So this is RR1, RR2. It's up to 6, Your Honor.
All right.
Publishing RR1. Sir, do you recognize what kind of equipment the individual on the left has on? This is a screenshot from the aftermath of the arrest, right? Immediately after the arrest.
Yes. Yeah, just so you're clear that, yeah, that officer, that detective was not present during the arrest. He was one of the detectives that was staged on the east side.
Okay, and he has like a big rifle.
Sustained. Based on the court's sidebar that just occurred, I'm sustained objection. And if all your photographs are going to that, I'm going to sustain the court's own objection under 352.
Okay, Mr. Persas was standing there and saw these individuals, right?
That's cause for speculation, counsel. You don't know if he saw them.
Were you present when Mr. Persas was, after Mr. Persas was being arrested, after Mr. Persas was arrested and the other detectives arrived to the scene of the arrest, were you personally present?
Yes.
And Mr. Persas was there also?
He was there at scene, yes. At some points he was standing, as you saw in the video, facing the, I believe when he standing at the front of the truck, he was facing westbound. And where this officer is standing, that would be directly, that's actually in front of the garage, which would be east of that location.
Wait, so you're saying that because he's, in that video, because he's facing west, he can't see what's around him?
Objection.
No, I never said that.
It's sustained.
All I'm trying to establish is what he saw.
Well, we don't know what he saw, counsel. Now, if he was in the area of that, and he appeared to be looking, that's one thing. But at the same time, even with that, it's not relevant.
All right. Publishing RR3. So this is Mr. Persas, right?
Yes, correct.
And then is that a detective or an FBI agent?
FBI agent.
All right. So this FBI agent has on.
Again, counsel, this is the third attempt at. We talked at sidebar. You're presenting what was at the scene, and let's approach again. Yeah. Okay, counsel, yes, go ahead.
Thank you. So, all of the detectives and the one FBI agent had on vests, right?
Yes.
These were, bulletproof vests, right?
Yes. Tactical body armor, yes.
And at least a couple of the detectives had large rifles.
What you would call long guns, I guess?
Yes.
All right.
The only individuals that had on body worn were the officers who responded after the arrest.
Yes, that's correct.
So there's actually no video from the arrest itself.
Not to my knowledge.
To effectuate the arrest, the entire street in that intersection was completely shut down, right?
It was blocked with vehicles. But you're, again, which street?
Cabora, where Cabora and Sinaloa meet, and we watched the video that Mr. Avila played, and it showed. I don't want to take the time to play it again, but it showed, multiple cars that were parked and blocking, ingress and egress for, 100 yards or so, going down east on Cabora, towards where Cabora and Sinaloa meet.
Yes.
Okay. And towards the end, an airship arrives.
Yes.
And an airship is the term that law enforcement uses to describe a helicopter.
Was there air support? Yes.
Air support, yeah. Now, you were not... Mr. Avila asked you about whether any of the actions taken during the arrest caused any bruises or abrasions. You were not the one who arrested him, like physically, right? It was Detective Hidalgo.
Yes, in my presence.
How far away were you?
I was standing in my vehicle, so probably within 10 to 20 feet.
You were in your vehicle.
No.
Did you exit your vehicle while the arrest was occurring?
Yes, I never said I was sitting in my vehicle during the arrest. I was out of my vehicle.
You were out of your vehicle?
Yes.
I misheard you.
And I was present during the arrest.
10 to 20 feet away from Detective Hidalgo?
No, from the defendant.
Detective Hidalgo was the one who effectuated the arrest?
Yes. So are you talking about when he placed handcuffs on him?
Yes.
Oh, I was probably closer than that then. When he placed handcuffs on him, I was closer than that.
How many?
Probably within 5 to 10 feet.
How many detectives physically detained him to put handcuffs on him?
I believe Detective Hidalgo was the only one that placed handcuffs on him. Maybe one additional person assisted with holding his arm while he placed handcuffs on.
You testified that the arrest occurred without incident, right?
Yes.
He was compliant.
Yes.
And he obeyed orders.
Yes.
He told you where his keys were.
Objection. Hearsay?
I think you testified that he was cooperative. Was that correct?
That's correct. He was cooperative.
Part of his cooperation. Did he tell you where his keys were?
I'm not sure if I was the one asking him for his keys.
Okay.
Strike the answer.
All right, sure.
That you needed like a clicker to get into his garage, and that he explained how that worked.
Objection. Hearsay.
Sustained.
And foundation.
Yeah, sustained.
How many individuals were part of the second arrest on the 19th?
We had approximately the same. On the 19th, I believe, 8 to 10. 8 to 10 detectives.
Okay. And there's
approximately the same.
There's no video whatsoever associated with that event.
Not that I'm aware of. It was outside of the In and Out at 92nd and Sepulveda. So I'm sure there's video somewhere over there.
Nothing further.
Yeah, we direct.
So, for this arrest on February 15, 2020, we have this body-worn video, correct?
Yes.
And there was other body-worn video. Were there other officers wearing body-worn video at about this time?
On the 15th?
Yes.
Yes.
And was there video of the defendant inside the patrol car once he's placed into the patrol car?
Yes.
And given the guns that officers had on them, the number of cars, and the airship, how would you describe defendant's demeanor during all this?
Objection, speculation, relevance.
You want to overrule? said describe. How would you describe?
I would describe his demeanor during this whole incident where you have patrol cars, guns, and the airship.
Also, outside the scope.
Overruled. I think that was your point in trying to ask some of the questions. Go ahead.
He was cooperative with what we were asking him or telling him to do, and his demeanor was calm and cooperative. Yeah.
Do LAPD fugitive task force, do they wear body-worn video? Are they required to wear body-worn video?
No.
Why not?
Due to the nature of our operations and the surveillances that we're conducting, that we're not required to wear body-worn video.
Did you see Officer Hidalgo when he's arresting the defendant, placing the handcuffs on him? Do you see him strike him, hit him in any way?
Absolutely not. I'm a supervisor, so if that would have occurred, I would have to conduct a use of force investigation. So, nothing like that occurred.
I have nothing further.
Anything?
2 questions.
Yes, go ahead.
Or 3. Who told you that he bailed out?
I believe Detective Carranza notified me.
This was what's called a felony stop, right?
Yes.
Objection beyond the scope of the redirect.
And that's a specific term that refers to the manner and the level of force used during a stop, right?
Objection vague level of force used.
Okay.
Rephrase.
A felony stop is a term that is used to describe the amount of officers or detectives and the amount of resources and procedures that are put in place to make an arrest.
Objection compound.
Sustained.
Mr. Purshouse had to lay prone on the ground when he got out of his car.
Yes, we ordered him out of the vehicle and ordered him into a prone position.
And so a prone position means that you lay down on the ground face down, right?
Yes, on your stomach.
On your stomach with your hands above your head.
No, hands out to your side.
Hands out to your side. And he did that.
Yes, on his own accord.
Nothing further.
Anything?
No questions.
You may step down, Detective. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yes. People, you want a good time to stop?
It's up to the court, Your Honor.
Do you have, can you do something in 10 minutes? Or? No?
It's going to be longer because we won't complete the witness agreement.
You're quick to speak for that, isn't you? All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and take the afternoon recess. We'll see you all tomorrow at 9:30. Be safe, if you will, please.